I don't know if, right. So there we are. Kiran's not joined yet. So hello everyone. My name is Sandhu. I am one of the co-admins for We Support Our Farmers. I've got Samita with me. She's the founder of the group. I want
Hello.
to, oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So I just want to start by saying a big thank you to our wonderful panelists. And I want to say a big thank you to all of you who are tuning in from across the globe, showing us your support. And this is just a very humble attempt from our group to talk about things that are really concerning us at the moment. And we are also very new to this, the streaming and the FB Live. So if we have some glitches, please bear with us. So I'm going to start by introducing our wonderful panelists. We've got Amandeep Sandhu. Amandeep is a celebrated author. He's written 3 books. He writes his reviews. He writes for the Caravan and the Quint. He's publishing another book, I believe, and we are really, really honored to have him with us today. We've also got Samita. Do you want to
Yeah.
introduce?
I'm Samita, one of the co-admins. So we started this group in November, and finally we thought we must do a Zoom meeting. We are very lucky to have our esteemed panelists and Shivani Salil, who is one of our panelists. She is a doctor by profession. She's Dr. Shivani Salil, and she has been writing and showing her sympathy towards the farmers and has been very vocal about it. And our other panelist is Naveender, which Simran will be introducing her.
Okay. So Naveender is a practicing High Court lawyer for Punjab and Haryana. She's had lots of experience in the legal profession, and she's also very vocal and articulate about the farmers' protest. In fact, all of us are. And we are very lucky to have her because with her background and her knowledge, I think we are hopefully going to gain a lot from her. We do have another panelist, Kiran Dhillon. I think she's having some glitches. She's not able to join in, but as soon as she does, we will introduce her. So we'll kickstart with Amandeep first. I mean, we've given some questions for all of you to sort of mull over. Obviously, with Amandeep, I've been reading your books, and I know that you're passionate about the Punjab, about the farmers, and like all of us, but you've got the added gift of being able to write about it so eloquently and beautifully. So I just want to say that, it's wonderful to read your books, and I wish everybody else would do the same. But the farmers have been protesting for a long, long time, and they are on a journey. And we are all sitting in our plush offices and our houses far away and following that journey. So, my question to you, Amandeep, is how do you first start sort of tell us what's your journey in all this, and where do you think we have reached today, the evolution of the journey of the farmers?
First of all, thank you for your kind words and hello to everybody. Um, my own journey might take a little this thing because I was born in Odisha. I lived outside Punjab except during the peak militancy period, then ran away from Punjab, and I've written about it in my books. What did this movement showed me is something that I've been waiting for the last 40, 45 years to see happen in Punjab, that it stands up with a narrative which is within and which challenges authority in a way which has not been done earlier. And I actually quite agree with the Anandpur Sahib resolution. I see my book probes the reasons why Punjab has had the recent history that it has in the last 50 years.
Mm-hmm.
But this time, the way it stood up was for to make the state accountable for what the state is all about. And if the Punjab region, which includes Haryana and some of Himachal, if it has been the grain basket of the country, then why isn't it treated well? And why is this now government, after 70 years of feeding on again the greater Punjab region, why is it suddenly turning its back on the farmers? So these are very good questions to ask. And I think Punjab started the movement roughly another history of agitation against grievances created by the structural state is very old. I mean, in fact, in the book also I trace that one of the reasons that led to Operation Blue Star itself, which is sort of post-partition our central watershed moment, was BKU protests, the Bharatiya Kisan Union protests in Chandigarh. And of course, there were other reasons as well. But this time, I think when I have been traveling Punjab, I have seen the unions work. They have been picking up important issues. Some reach fruition, some don't. They are involved in lakhs of farmers' lives, in the after effects of the Green Revolution, the farmer suicides, labor suicides, and all those issues. But this time, when the government, under the cover of pandemic, bulldozed the laws through the parliament, they came out openly against the government and said, you can't do this. The government actually thought that because of the pandemic, the farmers wouldn't say anything. And the farmers were not saying in the rest of the country. But the Punjab, Haryana farmers, they stood up. And then when they were not heard within the state, by end November, they marched to Delhi itself against the opposition that the Haryana police had put on the roads, broke the barricades, they reached. And they camped outside Delhi, not within where the government wanted them to camp. So in that sense, I've written about it. I mean, they created a Morcha around Delhi. And farmers from West UP and Uttarakhand also came in, Terai came in, then Rajasthan came into it. And this movement was going fine. I mean, there was some kind of talks happening with the government. There were some negotiations going on. The farmers were resolute on their points until 26th January happened. And I quite clearly see it as a government's attempt to basically cleave Punjab on that one fault line. The book is called Fault Lines. But on that one fault line, which we all know, which is between the Sikh religion and the left politics. I see it as a mid-race pattern change, that suddenly the movement moved from Singhu to Gazipur. Rakesh Tikayat came up there. He prevented another genocide. And since then, the movement has gone literally now national, but earlier it was North Indian states were all going into major Mahapanchayats. I think there have been more than 100 Mahapanchayats until date. Now, since March, they have decided to move into, we must notice something about the unions, and this is a thing that many don't understand, is the unions say they are non-political in the sense that they will not enter active party politics. But they are citizens of the country. They are actually acutely aware citizens of the country. And that is why they are not apolitical. So they are political, but they don't believe in the party politics that goes on. So when they now decided to go to Bengal, go to Kerala, go to Tamil Nadu, go to Puducherry, Assam, to campaign against one point of the government, which is that don't vote for BJP. They are not telling anybody to vote for this party or that party. They're just saying this party in power right now, it has not been good. And we are saying, don't vote for it. And that campaign has really gone very far now. I mean, like yesterday it was in Odisha, Madhya Pradesh, Bihar, Eastern UP. Today, first time they have come to South India, where I live in Bangalore. And what I'm seeing from the reports I've been following for the last few hours, a very old friendship between Professor Nanjan Swami, who was a great agrarian activist from Karnataka, and Baba Mahinder Singh Tikayat, the father of Rakesh Tikayat. That friendship has come to fore again after 30 years. Because these are the two people, Professor Nanjan Swami and Baba Tikayat, who started BKU. And now, initially there was some thought that, oh, maybe Congress will fill the rally with its people or JDS will fill the rally. These are the opposition parties. But actually, I'm seeing a surge of support to Dr. Darshan Pal, to Rakesh Tikayat, who have just reached actually. They've just reached Shimoga where they are doing the rally, the Mahapanchayat. And it shows us something very interesting. It shows us that memory is deeper than what political parties want to consider. For the last few decades, political parties have been dividing us on these lines, on religious lines, on north-south lines. But memory of friendship is actually so much more deeper. And it is just evident right now. If people were to tune into Shimoga, they can start seeing it.
Wow. So, Naveender, do you want to add something to it? Do you think, thanks, Amandeep, that was really comprehensive and we've got a feel of, where we are, and it seems to us that we are going in the right direction. But Naveender, any thoughts on?
I'll learn from where Amandeep has left that Shimoga is basically Yedurappa's Gad, what you call. So, and if they can succeed there, and he has a very, very strong hold there. So it's tremendous. It's really tremendous and awesome. But the other thing is that how I got interested in the farmers' protest was that when I read the laws, as soon as they were passed, and the next day itself, I made an analysis and I sent it to all my friends, relatives, colleagues, everybody, so that it's spread around, so that the awareness comes, because the laws under the garb of being reformative are actually basically so draconian that they're throttling the farmers absolutely and are pro-corporate, but the government says it's for reform, it's for reform. Agricultural reforms were required, but not in this form, the form that the government has now bought it. So therefore, it was very important to make everybody aware, and I tried my best. And otherwise, I got involved with the farmers movement when I saw them on during the what do you call that, kakkar nights in Punjabi we call it kakkar, when it's freezing, biting cold, and it's biting your bones, and these guys were sitting there. And my heart used to always go there. And whenever I felt cold, I would be doing a ardas for them that please, keep them safe. And I think most of us were doing that. So that is what got me involved. And I'm vocal. I say what I feel, what I think, if something is wrong. In fact, at times earlier on, because people were very, very scared to even voice their opinion, not voice their opinion, they are scared to even like your post if it is a little bold or you're saying something very categorically against anti-establishment. So therefore, I felt that now with the farmers movement and all, people are actually finding their voice. It's the I think India must be thankful to the farmers for awakening the spirit of India and actually bringing them on. And at least we see about 50% of the people of the Indians and world over, they're at least saying something, maybe guardedly or very in a camouflaged way, but they're at least voicing their opinion, and they are showing that they are pro-farmer, and they are voicing their opinion against the government or government policies, etc., which is, I think, a tremendous achievement of the Morcha, which has now become, I think, a revolution and spread all over the world. And in India, too, with so many Mahapanchayats, the way they're doing and the way they've evolved, that is tremendous. The Kisan Morcha, when it was being fortified with those roads being blocked and those barbed wires and all that. And I feel the union leaders are so shrewd and good, and I think they're absolutely awesome, because the way they changed their strategy to suit the, whatever is the situation. So they felt that maybe there is an attack on the borders and they'll be throttled by the government. So they spread out, and they spread out in such a beautiful way, having Mahapanchayats. Nobody knew who's where, but the Mahapanchayats, the kind of awakening they brought in the masses in the villages, and the response they got, and the word spread out, everybody got involved. So at least at the village level, everybody, I think most of India is involved now with the farmers movement. It is just the urbanites who are sitting very happily unaffected in their houses, that they are not able to understand because of the misinformation of the Godi media. That's another word, I think, phrase coined by the farmers movement, that Godi media is, like the Andolan Jeevi of Modi. So this is also one of the achievements of this thing, that you become a cult figure. So that's it.
So I'm going to sort of, I don't know if Kiran, can you hear us? Hello, Kiran? I think she messaged to say she's having some glitch. I was expecting this, so we can't be perfect. Anyway, so, taking on from what you've just said, Naveender, you've actually very smoothly transitioned into the second topic of our discussion, which was urban apathy. And all of us have felt it. We've often discussed it in our group. I, for one, have said I've got 483 friends, and I think I'll probably be losing some of them now, because none of them, let alone they almost are oblivious to the fact that something like this is even happening in the vicinity. So I'll come back to you, Shivani. In terms of, obviously, when you are away from home, you are, I think, this patriotism rises and surges within you a bit more than if you're living in the country. So I just want to ask you, from where are you coming from, sort of with your feelings about the protest, and what are your thoughts on this urban apathy? What do you think could be the reason of why so many, we call them urban elite, we could call them middle class people, who are not joining in, let alone on the ground, they're not even sort of raising their voices against it. And it's very disquieting and sometimes very, very upsetting for all of us.
Absolutely. See, when this started, when I started getting interested, I was stuck in India at that time during the pandemic. So it's last year, somewhere around August, September, I think, the news stickers started running how the laws have been passed. Without any warning, without any discussions, you just get the tickers that the laws are there. And that is the first time I think I started talking about it first amongst my family members, of course. And see, there are a lot of things I do not know, or at least at that time, I was absolutely ignorant. I do understand a little bit about MSP. I know a little bit about the mandis, but the nitty-gritty of it all, I never needed to know. So I'm leaving it at that. But the fact that the third law that talked about the essential items and about there would be no cap on how much you can store, that stinks. I mean, immediately your antenna should raise. That why how we associate poverty with pyaz or namak ke saath roti khana. So now the pyaz and wheat and potatoes, everything suddenly is no longer essential item. And you can hoard as much as you want. How many of us actually hoard? Who are the ones who would be hoarding? Why would we need this sort of a specific law or a specific pointer? So that is the time I think my antenna probably raised, and I was quite shaken by the way it was done and the words that were used and how it was camouflaged under the term called reforms.
Now,
there is a lot of things are wrong with farming. The reforms are much needed, but I think being an agrarian community in India, I don't think you can just shove away the old and bring in the new. That's not possible. You have to fine tune the system. You have to work within the existing system, see where it is going wrong, take the people who are actually involved. Do we really understand what farming means? How many of us, even in power, or how many of us who are the consumers, how many of us do we know what is Kharif, what is Rabi, how the sun affects or how the rain affects the grains? We don't know. For us, rains means pakode and sun means mungfali. That is all that it boils down to. It's not. Talk to the farmers and they will tell you that if the rain occurs a little before, तो उनकी गेहूं नहीं पकेगी. अगर पक गई है तो वो खराब हो जाएगी. There are so many things that go into farming and the kind of hard work. I don't have a green finger in me, but I appreciate people who can actually grow it. I mean, एक मनी प्लांट उग जाए हमारे घर में मेरे लिए बड़ी बात है वो. So for me, I am appalled that I mean, something that I cannot do, people who are doing, I respect them. So by that means, respect the farmers, the food that's on your table. It's because of them. Respect them for that. There are so many reasons, and I still do not have the answer why urban elite is so conveniently detached with all of it.
Okay.
And as Amandeep said, that you cannot be apolitical. In a country like India, you cannot be apolitical, first of all. And the farmers, why are they being expected to be apolitical? But that does not mean that it is a politically motivated movement.
Yes.
That is something that I often hear from urban elite. Whenever I try talking to them, they say, "अरे नहीं, ये तो politics है. आपको पता नहीं है इसके पीछे बड़ी politics है." So what politics? I mean, I don't. And on the other hand, you say that the farmer is very naive. I think these two things need to be corrected. These two things, urban people need to understand. Farmers are not naive. They understand what concerns them. At least they understand that, and for that they are sitting there. 100 days, you can't sit in the sun and the rain, as Naveender said, kakkar nights. I mean, every time, the way she was saying that every time there was that kind of bone chilling winters, I used to think about them. And when it rained and all the tents were flying off, there were videos. It's so it kills you from some. I mean, I don't know how people can see those images, or maybe they just choose not to see it.
So, anyone, Amandeep, have you got a take on this? Yes.
Okay, I know. I mean, it for some of us who are in solidarity with the movement, supporting the movement, who understand to less or more degree what a farmer's life is really like. When we see the very circles we live in, we work in, we function in, which we have friends, relatives, families, the same circles not responding to what has suddenly, it's like the light has lit in our hearts, but why isn't it lighting in their hearts? Like that kind of.
Yeah.
So the first response obviously is outrage. But I've been thinking about it, and I completely understand outrage. But outrage is not going to bring us friends, I think. And the movement needs friends.
Okay.
Even if we don't need friends, I mean, just to put on record, during the course of this protest, I have lost. I mean, I'm not lost. They were always against me. The right-wingers were always against me. But they took some video clip and they made it out into. I said, "Yeah, you should have just read the book. You would have known more."
Yeah.
But nobody reads. But even the left and the liberals and some Sikhs also, they're all turning against what I have to say. Now, what we need to understand is that these protests are indigenous.
Yeah.
They are based on the experience and the resourcefulness of the farmers and the farmer leaders.
Yeah.
And they are evolving, and they will never fit into anyone's framework of how a protest should be.
Okay.
We all need to do this correction for ourselves. For example, yesterday people responded to a post I put up also. Is like that I said, "Oh, Tikayat raised the vaccine question."
Yes.
Now, some of us here are like, "Okay, vaccine is fine." But some have gone very far on the vaccine trajectory. And they see that vaccine is linked to big capital, and big capital is actually destroying the farmers through the WTO. So anybody who supports vaccine cannot support the farmer. They come to that kind of conclusion also, so. But the point is that is their conclusion. This is our conclusion. We will all have our ideas. What is important is that the laws need to be repealed, that MSP needs to be legalized, that we should not have those other legislations on electricity and, paddy smoke and all that, straw burning.
Labor laws and all.
Yeah.
I was coming to Naveender for this. That do you think? How do you think these new laws, repealing them, will help in our democracy, preserving our democracy Is it they should be repealed within the framework of law? How do you think it's going to work?
Absolutely. See, I'll tell you in a nutshell, all the three laws. The first is the Contract Farming Act. So it's got a longish name, essential protection of the farmers, empowerment of the farmers, etc. But it's basically based on contract farming. And contract farming, they say, they don't even use the word parties. They use the word sponsor and the farmer. So the sponsor is going to provide you seed, know-how, everything. And you will be the person, the party, the farmer who will be tilling the land according to their demands. Then after all that, you sign a contract, and in the contract, they will also put a clause for gradation of the produce. That is that it has to be, it's a pre-contract, pre-crop contract that says that the grade of the crop is going to be X, Y, and Z, right? Before you sow the seed, before the crop actually grows, it's like telling a mother or a late woman that the baby you're going to have is going to be like Apollo, otherwise we are not going to take it, right? If he doesn't look like as handsome as Apollo, then I'm going to reject the boy or reject the girl because she doesn't look like X, Y, or Z. So that, how can you know? The farmer cannot, it's the sun, the wind, it's nature, how a seed is going to grow, whether it's going to be of A grade, B grade, C grade. It can be close to that, but you cannot reject the crop on that. And now if, say suppose a person is investing 4 crores in seed and know-how, etc., giving them all those drip irrigation and all that to grow those things on their land. One, the bank is going to finance that. All corporates go to banks for finance, and the banks don't finance except with a security. So that's going to be against the land of the farmer. The money is going to be taken by the corporate, but the land of the farmer is going to be the thing that is going to suffer, is going to be the guarantee or the collateral that has been given to the bank, right? Secondly, after taking that, if suppose he rejects the crop, he says, no, it's not of that grade that we had agreed on the contract. Now I'm not going to pick it up. So now the farmer is left with the crop. He cannot go and sell it outside because he's bound by the contract, right? And even if he goes and sells it or whatever he does, that will be illegal. The sponsor can sue him for that. Now, once that crop is not picked up, that liability of 4 crores that is spent on by the sponsor on the farmer's seed, etc., that is on the farmer's head. The crop that is not picked up, that is on the farmer's head. So as a result, the farmer will be indebted even more and more and more. And what is the way that he will get the money back? They say that he can't sell the land of the farmer. All right, he can't sell the land, but he can. It will be claimed, taken as recovery of land revenue. Recovery of land revenue, everybody knows, is through attachment and through. But the farmer is dead as it is. His land will be mortgaged or attached, or however it will be recovered. That money will be recovered like that. Okay, so that is, you are subjugating the farmer absolutely to the corporates. The corporates can dictate terms in as in what is going to be grown, how it's going to be grown, and all the money, etc. will be. And suppose the contract, they move out of the contract. So all the loan that the corporate has taken will fall on the farmer's head because it's against his land. So he will be responsible how he's paying it. Okay, so this is one of the worst, this thing. And of course it says that you can't go to court, the SDM will, this thing, there's a lot of things already said about it and everybody knows. So, okay, so that is one. And then what Shivani was talking about is the Essential Commodities Act. So they've made an amendment to the Essential Commodities Act. Now, Essential Commodities Act was brought in by Sir Chotu Ram, because before that, if you remember Mother India, we've all seen Mother India, I think. And there was that Sahukar and black marketing and how he exploited everybody by storing things as and then giving them and exploiting people. So now again, that the Essential Commodities Act was brought in to control that, so that nobody can hoard essential commodities. Now, not only have they opened up the Essential Commodities Act, they have allowed, Adani probably knew beforehand that this is coming, because he's made made godowns like silos, like anything everywhere all over, where he can control, store the entire crop of the country, not only of one state. He can control the entire wheat or entire whatever rice, etc., dal, whatever is being grown, he can store that. Now, as it's done in apples, if you all must have heard only what is happening to the apples of Himachal and J&K, that is also all now under Mr. Dani's control, right? So that is one thing, that you are now, instead of going forward, you're going backward. You are taking the whole country into the era of black marketing, and only the value chain buyer can hoard it, not the farmer. If a farmer wants to hoard, that is not allowed. Only these corporates who are going to come and pick up the food grain for processing will be able to allow to hold it. All right. Now, and the third, APMC Mandi Act, what is it? They have allowed private mandis to be formed adjacent to the APMC. Why was APMC bought? APMC was also bought because of this, because earlier the Artiyas used to hoard, and black marketing was there, and they could exploit the person. They would pay him, they would not pay him. So then the government, this was also Sir Chotu Ram's thing, because he was a farmer's son, and I believe that once before, when he was appearing for his civil services or something, he needed money, and his father, a farmer, went to the Artiya to get money, and the Artiya really ill-treated him. So that kind of had an effect on him, and they said that the moment he became minister, the first law he passed was APMC and essential commodities, how to protect the farmers. So now APMC also regulates once they say the farmer's crop reaches the market committee, it enters that register, then whether the money is given to him in 10 days, 15 days, 20 days, 1 month, it's like a government salary, government official salary. It will come, whether it comes this month, next month, that is in your account, it will come into your account. So similarly, once the crop reaches the market committee, it becomes the government's responsibility that he has to be paid for it.
I would like to introduce Shivani in this. She had recently written, and I really like that quote, "A challenged world is an alert world."
Yeah.
Shivani, could you elaborate on that?
No, that was actually the theme for the Women's Day this time, choose to challenge. And what I felt was that a lot of women, I mean, and men for that matter, they were putting up hashtags. I'm not a day person, Women's Day or this or that day. I feel that it's all tokenism. But what the women did for the farmers' protests, I think that has challenged a lot of stereotypes, not just for the world, for the women themselves. The farmers suddenly, the women farmers, I think they see themselves in a new light, and they are more aware now. So when a challenge has come to them, I'm sure that they have read into the laws, they have tried to understand them. You hear them talk. It's amazing how much of in-depth knowledge they suddenly seem to have. I mean, we've been writing them off as ignorant, as uneducated, illiterate, whatever. I mean, we can choose our adjectives, but they're disproving all of that. So I think they've challenged all of that. And besides that, I feel that, when you're cornered, suddenly all your adrenaline and everything else comes to your rescue, and you can see it in full it's out there for all of us to see, only if we choose to see it. That is the problem. We refuse to understand, we refuse to read what the laws are, and we just assume the food will keep coming on the table. I mean, as Naveender just said, this is an example I often use, that how often in all the old movies we've seen the Lalas and the Sahukars and Amitabh Bachchan coming in and, into the, bashing, and there are godowns and shady looking places where all the grain is there and hungry people are outside. So we're going back to that. It might sound very filmy, but it is true. We need to understand. And the paradox is that we keep talking about organic stuff. We keep talking about farmers markets. You go to Gurgaon, you go to any upmarket suburbs, and you will see the farmers markets coming up, and organic stuff being sold, and millets and this and that. And no one is realizing that the moment all the contract farming thing kicks in, it will, somebody would be deciding what is grown. So a lot of indigenous grains will go away. All that you crave for, माँ के हाथ का खाना, and हमारे ज़माने में ऐसा होता था, all those things will go away. It's going to be a very rapid process, and
So
that, yeah.
Amandeep, I would like to come back to you. Do you feel that government after government have let down our farmers?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, of course, this for the last 50 years, this has been going on. I mean, as we discussed, I mean, farmers were agitating in 1970s, 80s when the Green Revolution came to Punjab, you know, like, and since then there have been structural issues with the Green Revolutions. But that would take us to another direction. I want to come back to
the urban apathy.
The second question. Yeah,
that's what we were
urban
talking
apathy.
about.
Yeah. So there's something which we need to reflect upon, and that is that industrial revolution in the West, mostly in Europe, after the bubonic plague in 1347, and until, say, the Battle of Plassey, when the East India Company comes to India. Yeah. Why does it come here? It comes to get cotton for Manchester, right? So it is to feed the industry in Britain at that point. The Industrial Revolution lasted for 400 years and led to, of course, imperial conquests by most of these European countries. But in India, at the eve of our independence, we were at least 80% agrarian. Big industry comes to India only with Nehru in the 50s. And by the time Manmohan Singh takes over in 1990s, we move into services and IT and ITES kind of trades. So industrial revolution in Europe is 400 years old. In India, it was 40 years.
Yeah.
Right? All of us, you know, I'm sure all of us here, 2 generations, 3 generations back, we were living in villages. You know, even cities, except the 3 or 4 big cities of India, small towns were also literally villages of India. We were all connected to the agrarian system. How have we, in 2 generations, forgotten what agrarian India was?
Yeah.
You know, or still is, and it still continues to exist. And to that, I think my understanding is that it is the neoliberal policies, at least my generation grew up with neoliberal policies, foreign funds coming in, markets opening up, trades changing. For earlier used to be government job was the most important thing to get. But then we moved into, no, private companies pay better. You know, I remember my first salary in an IT company was equivalent to my father's last drawn salary in a public sector unit.
Yeah.
And this was in 1999, right? So we are shaped by neoliberalism. We believe in this idea that there is something called a free market, which will help prosper. But as Naveender ji was saying, I mean, it is only a duopoly which is going to come into play. There's no free market. Adani will control the grain, Ambani will control the retail. You know, that is all that they're going to create through this kind of thing. And what neoliberalism has done to us is, living in the cities and living in flats, is that we have forgotten what is land.
Yeah.
You know, what is the conception of land in a farmer's mind, in a landless laborer's mind, and what is the construction of land in an urban mind? You know? For a farmer, and especially for a landless laborer who sees that they don't have access to land, land is social relations. Land is their politics on the ground. Land is their only investment, which they will never really divest themselves of because they will keep taking loans, but they will be hard pressed to sell the land. You know, land is their cultural relations as well. You know, now land is all these things. Basically it is the entire ecosystem of the farmer or the landless laborer as well. Does not have land. But for urban people, hi Kiran, you know, for urban people, it is land is a plot or is a flat. And we can just sell land. Oh, we live in this part of town. We don't like it here. Okay, we'll sell this and we'll buy something in that part of town. Oh, we don't like this town at all. We want to sell the plot and go off, take a new job in a new city, and we go off there. For land, land has become a an asset which can be stored in the bank. But it is not so for rural India. And that is an important psychological divide that urban India now needs to make backwards, because, as Shivani said, Essential Commodities Act is going to hit every one of us. Our dining tables are going to become 4 times, 8 times the cost what they are today. There will be huge inflations controlled by these racketeers. If urban India does not get involved, at least 60% of India is rural India, and I just said earlier, that is getting involved. So urban India should actually be wise and decide which side the power is tilting, and they should go and support it, not like some top intellectuals do, not like that, but at least common people should start empathizing with what is going on. And this is, by the way, not happening only to agrarian India. Labor codes have changed. GST has screwed the traders.
Yes.
New FCI laws are actually doing what Naveender ji was saying. They're trying to regrade what kind of quality of grain can be bought. It is railways are being sold out. Power has been sold out. Defense has been sold out. I mean, we are just moving into a giant corporate nation, which is not what the founding fathers of this country imagined.
Yeah,
so thanks for that. I think it was a very I think it's a wake-up call to the urban elite, and you couldn't have said it better, Amandeep. Yeah. I would like to welcome Kiran. So meet Kiran.
I couldn't join earlier.
So Kiran is our fourth panelist, and we are very lucky that she's now joined in after lots of glitches. Hopefully you'll stay with us for a couple of minutes. So Kiran's a fashion graduate and a young entrepreneur, and she's the daughter of a farmer, like most of us. And she's also set up a group called the Daughter of Farmer. So Kiran, we were talking about urban apathy towards the farmers movement, and that why so many urban people are still not raising their voices against it. Do you have a take on that?
Yes, Simran. See, I feel there are a few things, a few factors which are causing that. One is that urban and rural India are poles apart. There is no connection between the two. When we look at urban people and when we look at rural people, there is always this lack of connection and connectivity between them. They don't understand each other at all. Urban people live a very different lifestyle. They believe in a different philosophy. They live in a different world altogether. So when it comes to the problems which rural faces, they don't understand the ground reality. So that there's a huge lack of understanding which causes it too. I think similarly, even the rural does not understand, what the problems faced by urban India. Other thing is that there is a kind of nexus which is there, between bureaucrats and politicians and corporates and industrialists. So why I say nexus is because these four sectors are so interconnected and so dependent on each other that one can't function without the other.
Okay.
So if industrialists has to work, they have to depend on politicians. They have to depend on corporates. They have to depend on bureaucrats, and the same thing goes for everybody. So when something like this is happening, where things are against the government, because farmers are against the government right now because of the law. The government has made wrong laws. So all these sectors, which are so interconnected, if they raise a voice against the other, they all get affected. So there is always this fear which they feel, probably fear, or they don't want to take a risk. It's a huge risk for them because they have such comfortable lives that they can't go against each other. Probably that is also a reason which does not let them raise their voice the way they should have been. I'm sure a lot of them understand. I mean, I have lived in Delhi for such a long time, and I have so many people connected with me from Delhi on my Facebook. And during this time, since I've been so active, I sometimes get a chance to interact with these people. They all know what the problem is.
Okay.
They all understand. They all, even in their hearts, they all support farmers. They say that farmers are right, but they don't want to raise their voice because they want to risk their lives. So that is there, and the other thing is the service class. Mostly, of course, these big city people are service class and salaried or employed, have comfortable lives, have bright futures for their kids, better schools over there, and they have too much at stake to risk. And those fears probably don't let them raise their voice. I think that's one of the main reasons.
So we know that, you've just mentioned some really valid points. So is there like a way forward? We all know that our country is heading towards, well, we are almost like a half democracy or hardly a democracy anymore, according to reports. So and if people still don't raise their voice, what's going to happen? I mean, any ideas on what do you think we can do to alleviate the fears of the urban elite? Do you think that if they raise their voices a bit more, that they may be more success for the farmers?
Simran, I feel that we are not even half free. We are half enslaved in the other way. Because, there's so many people. If we raise our voices, we are shut down. If somebody tries to do something right, government goes against them. So slowly, we are basically being enslaved. People who even want to talk or want to take action, they're not taking action. So, I mean, of course, we say that we're partially free, but I feel that we're partially enslaved already. And if we don't wake up on time, if we don't raise our voices, if the country does not come together, we are on a road to disaster already. I mean, look at where we stand. We are divided on the name of the religion. Our freedom of speech has been taken away. Our entire media is bought. Imagine national media of the entire country is bought. Nobody wants to talk about what it needs to be talked about. And there are all kind of efforts being made to distract people's attention from what needs to be talked about. I mean, people, they're making comments on ripped jeans or those cow lessons and whatnot. The real topics are not discussed only, and that they don't let this come out in the media only. They keep people distracted, they keep media distracted. So this is high time. This was, I think, farmer agitation which started. It is a wake-up call for the rest of the country. There had been so many things happening, there had been so many underlying issues which we had been facing for years now, but nobody was talking about it. And during this, it has kind of taken a veil off the governments, that facade they had been put on. Now, the government's real attention is coming out. They had been trying to push this agenda of one nation, one government, which did not come out openly, although a lot of people knew about it. But through this agitation, it has all come out in open. And slowly, people are realizing it. Today it's farmers, tomorrow it's somebody else. The bank employees are right now on strike. CA happened earlier, the demonetization. I mean, there's so many examples. What a lot of people still are not realizing is that today it's farmers, yesterday it was Muslims, tomorrow it'll be somebody else, tomorrow it's banks, day after it'll be something else. So slowly they are penetrating through the different sectors to control this country and make it a total dictatorship model. And but still, I would feel that this is a beautiful thing which has happened through this farmer protest, that awareness has come. A lot of people got aware of the real agenda of this government, and I think it's high time that country wakes up and raises its voice now.
Okay. So
Shivani has been quite vocal about this issue, like what Kiran had said. Would you like to continue with it?
Yes, totally. Hi, Kiran. It's so good to
Hi,
hear you talk,
Shivani.
because I think you've been going to the sites, and what you talk brings me a lot of hope and optimism. Because right now, I'm too far removed geographically, and to whoever I speak with, they seem to, as I said, that we have always thought that farmers are naive. I think I would like to tell the people who think farmers are naive, I think it's the urban elite who are the most naive. And as you say that urban people, they think that they have a lot at stake. On the contrary, I think the people who are sitting out there, for them, everything is at stake. At least, on that level, they could have understood that, considering that for farmers, their livelihood, everything, the way they think about their land, everything is at stake. So going by that, if they can stand there in solidarity to each other, why
Mm.
can't we do that?
Yeah.
The second thing is that it's a ticking bomb. It's a you can hear the TikTok going, and they're coming to get you. Everybody is going to be affected in some way or the other. If we do not raise our voices now, with the farmers, I think if we join hands, a lot of our own issues, as Amandeep has often said, that we have outsourced our issues to them. So I think about time that rather than outsourcing, let's join them and make their voices stronger and make our voices heard without being scared. Because there is definitely, I mean, the scare will go away if you're together. If you see so many people like you standing together for a cause, I think the fear should have gone away. It should have given us strength to talk. Why that hasn't happened, I hope people think about it.
Yeah.
And if all those who are hearing it, I hope they spend some time thinking about it. If not now, then when? I mean,
So
this is the right time, I believe.
So that's I think that's sort of almost we are coming to the end of the show actually. I think we've sort of overrun a little bit.
Yeah.
Yes,
And to
Navinder.
your point,
Yeah.
yeah. See, how I see it, that how can you change this apathy is that firstly, we know that Golden Media is giving misinformation to the people and they are buying it. Okay, some of them are so promoted that they don't want to see. Some are fed by the misinformation through the national media. The second thing here is that we say the Morcha is apolitical.
Hmm.
But neither are the union leaders, neither are we people or anybody. We are either fence citizens or towards. Everybody is politically aligned somewhere in your minds. Even in our families, we are political because everything is politics after all, right? So only the Morcha is apolitical. But if political parties also, because they have the resources, the Morcha doesn't have the resources of the political parties to mobilize people. So that has to be, everybody has to join in, the political parties, the people, the NGOs, everybody who can mobilize the resources have to pull in and push people, because people have to be brought by these people only who can control and mobilize people who have the resources to do that, right? And the third and most important thing I feel, we had a discussion on the group also, Amandeep and myself, that see, people have to be affected. And how do they get affected? When the food on the table becomes scarce. So at the farmer's level, I feel a shortage of food has to be created. At least for a few seasons, they have to say that, okay, we are not sowing this crop and we are going to sow flowers, okay? Or we are going to only sow for ourselves, or what we can store and market directly ourselves, so that the government has to feel the pinch, and it will not be 1 or 2 seasons, because it has to be 4 or 5 seasons where the food shortage is there, so that people feel that now they're not getting reach to eat, now they're not getting, so then they will come, they will realize that there is a need to join the farmers, and they'll realize what farming or farmers are all about, right? And thirdly, I feel now the SKM, the Singh Morcha is all together and all the farmers are together. So they should give a call of MSP, as in minimum selling price. That okay, this season wheat is going to sell for 3,000 or 3,500, and no farmer will sell less than that. And whoever wants to buy, go buy from them. If you want to store it in your house for the whole season, go buy and store. Or you want to anybody who wants to buys from them at the price that they have decided, so that the government deprived of it, the storage, and people get things and the farmers get their value for what they're growing. So if they give out such calls now that they're all together, I think there has to be a shortage created at the farmers level, at least for a year or two, for the government to realize what it is to have a food shortage in. And as Amandeep had said, that the protests are going on since 1970s and all that. It was in 1970s, the protests, that 1977, that they made one country, one mandi. That time
Yeah.
it was opened up that you can go and sell your produce anywhere in India. So it is
Yeah.
not this government who is doing anything. It was done in 1977 by an act. There was a judgment earlier and then followed by the act coming through these protests only of these farm union leaders, that anybody can go and sell the produce anywhere in India. So that's how we've been eating apples and Nagpur ka santras and Maharashtra onions, etc.
So I think sort of obviously there is a lack of distribution, and what you made some good points, Naveender, about food shortage and how it's going to hit the urban elite, and when they've got to spend 6 times more than they normally do on their food, they might be awakening. But I think we have to now put an end to this discussion. Hopefully, we might have some. Yes, Aman.
Just one last word.
I was going to talk to everyone to give you one last word, anyone. So
yeah, I thought you were going to throw us out. So
no,
I
wouldn't do that.
Yeah. I mean, we must realize that this government has harvested the anger of at least half a century of rural distress. You know, they need not have done this. The system was cracked; it was breaking, but they just pushed it over, and now they are facing the repercussions of it. I see it very, very brilliantly. I see that there is a new India going to, raise a suppressed India is going to raise its voice, and this whole cloak that was on us for the last 7 years of some kind of majoritarian religious India, that has already been unveiled. I see the protests largely as what in English, if we have to say, there is this Indian myth of the Sagar Manthan, that there's a large churning going on and there will be Amrit nectar coming out of it and there will be vish poison coming out of it. But if we have to conclude in Punjabi, all of us are Punjabi here. So, dudh rid karya, makhan bhi nikluga, lassi bhi niklugi. And I think as long as you remain close to the churning process, you're fine. If you get distracted in these various things that are coming out, then you're losing the narrative itself. The most interesting thing, I think, that Punjab and Haryana came together, the Dalits and the women came together. These solidarities that we have built are going to last us a long time and are going to change the politics of the country.
So that is like a really positive message. So what did you say? So, we should stay close to the churning. Dudh ridna. That's really good.
Dudh rid karya, makhan bhi niklu, lassi bhi niklugi.
I know, lassi to peen nu bahut ji karda hai anyway. So
this is still okay. If so long as we are talking about makhan and lassi, both are welcome.
I know.
The wish and the amrit thing, because we don't have a shiva to take the wish in. So better be prepared, because here the chances of the poison is going to cause a bigger problem. So might as well wake up to that.
So I think we've sort of, it's been really interesting, and I think that all of us sort of are really into it now, so we could carry on for a long time, but I suspect everyone's got work to do or do whatever they normally do. So we're going to end by sort of asking you to give a one-liner maybe, or a message that you might want to give to all our viewers who have so generously tuned in. I'm hoping I've not been able to see any comments, but I hope they put some comments in and watch this. So I'll start with you, Kiran. What would be your message? Your message to people? Maybe one line,
okay,
or one or two words.
Okay, so if it is just the last message of this conversation, I'm sorry I joined in so late. I missed on so much, and there was so much more to say. But anyway, see, I read today only, I was reading a news that there was a Maha Panchayat by women held in Jind.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So which is big, although, I mean, we know that women of Haryana are more kind of, when it comes to anything, they raise their voice more than other women, which is very good. But this Mahapanchayat held by women in that state, that's very big. And that's a very positive move, I think. So I will just send out this small message through this channel. If there are more people watching from Punjab, I would just give a shout out to women of Punjab also to come out now
Yay.
and hold more rallies
Okay.
and please be more active, because even when I go to the border, of course, there are many women from Punjab right now, but I see such amazing turnout from Rajasthan and Haryana women. So I think our Punjabi women need to get more active and be there. Go, raise your voice, talk about it, and just come out of your houses.
That's great. So, Naveender, have you got one final message? Quick one.
Final message would be that I think already women are everywhere and they are very actively participating in the Morcha. If you go to Tikri border and all, I think it's full of women only. And I would request everybody that they should come out and support the farmers, right? And I would also request the SKM leaders that they should give a call for consolidating the farmers in the sense of marketing and making the urban elite feel the pinch of not having enough food. Yeah. So that there has to be, they realize that, yes, they owe it to the farmers. And 80% of the people or 75% of the people of India are into farming. So just aping the West and making those 80 or 75% population without any livelihood, what will they do? How many can become laborers? How many can become drivers or whatever, so they'll get into criminal activities. So all this, I think the government doesn't have the vision to think about it. They just want to ape the West. And I think when I was in the States, I was deprived of having fresh milk, fresh vegetables. We are blessed to have all this here. So how can we allow anything like this to change? And I think everybody has to now give a voice to whatever they think, because we've been quiet for a long time. See, when the CBI guy was removed unceremoniously, so many things have been happening. We just keeping quiet and okay, now it's high time. I think if we don't wake up now, it'll be too late for India. And this is the only time we can help the farmers. Farmers have given us a voice. If we join them, we can save India. Otherwise,
that's
I don't
great.
know.
Shivani, last word.
Bless India.
Yeah. For me, I think what I would say that I was growing up, I grew up with the stories of emergency. I know which side my parents were, or people that I know were, what their opinion around emergency was. Similarly, I think when our children grow up, they are going to ask which side we were on. Remember that you will have to answer to them. They will grow up, they will read about it at some point, because this is so huge, it cannot be ignored. All of it is going to be recorded in some or the other form, and we have technology now. Maybe a lot of the details about the emergency could be wiped away, but all of this is online. So I don't think it's easy to wipe out the amount of data that we have. Children will read about it, they will know about it, they will ask questions. If we don't talk now, we won't probably get another chance. And the second thing is that there's a word that I keep hearing when I hear to all the union leaders, or even the common farmers, they call it ikat.
Yeah.
So aaj ikat hai, so that unity of ikat is something that you can take advantage of. It's very understandable that we are scared. Everybody gets scared, but this ikat should give us that power, that courage to get over that fear. So move past your fears. That is what I would say. Voice your opinion. Even don't think that your voice won't count. Every voice counts. Every word counts. If it changes the mind of even one person, I think you've done your job. So please keep talking. You don't have to be at the site. You don't have to be in a morcha. And also, there's one last thing that I think we should not call them farmer protests. We should probably call it satyagraha, because it is an agraha for truth. It is not a protest. Protest kind of, I somehow feel that it makes it very small. It's not a small thing any longer. So no, they're no longer protests.
That's really great. So I really like the new terminology of satyagraha. So I think we've all hopefully going back with a very positive, optimistic attitude. And like all of you said, each voice counts. So I think we need them. We need the farmers. So let's speak up for them. Let's everybody raise their voice. And I think as a group, we constantly keep telling our viewers that all of you who are lucky enough to live in the vicinity, or like Kiran, a few hours away, please go and visit them, because I think we owe it to them. And so I'm hoping that this discussion has been useful to all our farmers. No, sorry, not our farmers, all our viewers. But Amandeep, can you just give that quote again? Bada vadiya quote si.
Kiran dogi a quote.
एक बारी और दे दो, कोई और दे दो.
दूध रिड़कूगा ते मक्खन निकलूगा ते लस्सी निकलूगी यही क्या सी
दूध रिड़क हो रहा है, रिड़के जा रहा है,
राइट राइट रिड़के जा रहा है.
ओके, सो जो अपन लस्सी से मक्खन
मक्खन ते लस्सी दी वेट
many will fall apart. Many come with vested agendas. Many come to get something out of this. You know, as soon as they shift, I mean, it's fine. I mean, everybody will have their own interest to come to a protest. Some wants to save something, some wants to save something. That is fine. But once you deprioritize the real reason for the protest, for the satyagraha, you know, and start doing your own politics there, then you fall out of it.
Yeah.
That has been happening. It's for the last 115 days that has been going on there. You know, like, so, it's a very interesting phenomenon going on, really.
I know.
You know,
And
so,
we are all lucky to witness it. So
I mean, this is not to say that I think today's number is 308 deaths have happened. There is immense toll being taken. My concern is always the mental health.
yes.
I've come from that space. I think there are 23 suicides by now. You know, so there are many casualties that are happening, literal as well as other kinds. You know, farmers. When I keep asking them, they keep saying that पिंड भी देखना है, घर भी देखना है, जमीन भी देखनी है, बहू भी देखने हैं, बच्चे भी देखने हैं, इतने protest है, ट्राली भी देखनी है. You know, like how many things can they really look after? You know, BPR especially. You know, older ladies who actually have they are running the houses in Punjab. You know, so when their responsibilities are even more. It's a huge thing that is going on. It has to get solved. We have to wait till the election results come. We'll see what happens. When most likely, if BJP loses, then there will be daggers within the party itself.
Okay.
So there's a lot of interesting things to happen.
Another panel discussion for next time,
yes,
hopefully.
Yes, yes.
right.
So, shall we say bye to everybody and Sat Sri Akal, and thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you to all of you wonderful people for joining us, and hopefully we can do this on a regular basis.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Bye-bye.
Yes, more power to the Satyagraha. Thank
Okay.
you.
Oh yeah, Satyagraha. Okay. Bye bye.
Viva la Satyagraha. Bye. Bye.
Okay.